So now you're working inside of the publishing side of things.
Songwriting, music publishing, yeah.
What was the difference going from a record label to a publishing company?
It was an education.
Okay.
You know, because I learned a lot about performance rights organizations around the world. I learned the difference and why I'm so pro ASCAP versus because when I was managing people, like when I managed Organized Noise, I signed them to BMI. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, I was like 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. It doesn't really matter. It's just a performance rights organization. Well, I learned that that wasn't exactly the truth.
Damn.
You know, so ASCAP is a true songwriting organization that's ran. Their board of directors are other songwriters and other music publishers. The board of directors for Broadcast Music Incorporated, BMI, were radio programmers and radio station owners.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are set to pay you.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? So you see the conflict there.
Yeah.
And at the time, CSAC was a privately owned. You had to get nominated even to become a part of CSAC, and then they had to accept you at that point. So, you know, ASCAP became my home for the next 7 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I almost got fired 6 months in because I was like, I'm walking around like not knowing what to do. You know, and Jeannie got on the phone. It's like, listen, you're not turning in any writers. You're not doing any events. And then, you know, I finally realized, I said, wait a minute, like I have my salary and I got a $25,000 expense account. What am I doing?
Time to bow.
You know what I'm saying? So then I started going in. I started doing networking events, you know, and just started being the man, as it were, you know, allowing the songwriters to come on in.
Exactly.
And learn, and I was accessible, and I didn't care about the people who were already signed, the people who already had hits. I was worried about the next generation of songwriters. So that enabled me to sign Ciara. It enabled me to sign Keri Hilson, Polo the Don.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Shakespeare. And the Shakespeare story is this. Shakespeare was already with BMI. While I was with ASCAP, I started working with Candy and Tiny from Escape. And we were looking at doing a project on them. So Tricky Stewart recommended that I go and see this guy Shakespeare. And I did. And they started meshing well with Shakespeare. And I've always paid attention to him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you're a good writer, so forth and so on. And I didn't care whether he was with BMI or not. It didn't matter to me, you know. So they do this record, No Scrubs, and it was part of the Candy and Tiny project. It was their song. They wrote it, and Shakespeare did the music. And I was like, yo, that sounds pretty dope. And then Tony Mercedes comes along and takes the song to L.A. Reid and said, this is the perfect song for TLC. And it just so happens that they agreed.
Yeah.
And the song ended up on TLC. And then they became, more so Candy and Shakespeare became this dynamic writing duo. So then they got in with Destiny's Child, wrote 6 songs, including Bills, 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 and Bugaboo for Destiny's Child. So then it was like, you know, Shake came to me and was like, yo, I want to be a part of ASCAP. I was like, all right, cool. So I put everything in motion. He sent in his resignation letter to BMI, and we're moving, and it's all good. And then I get this phone call, you know, and it's like, Shakespeare, he calls me and said, man, they offered me $1 million to stay.
Woo!
And I was like, I knew I couldn't compete with that.
Yeah.
I couldn't compete with that. And, you know, I told my boss, but I wasn't expecting my boss to even agree or come on board. It's like, you know, he was still a new writer.
Yeah.
And the songs that he had written were still going to remain in the BMI catalog.
Yeah.
Because it's two separate. You have a writer contract and you have a publishing contract. You know, so those songs were to remain under the BMI system. So giving him that kind of money up front would mean that he'd have to write a whole bunch of songs under the ASCAP banner.
Yeah.
in order to recoup them that $1 million.
yeah.
So I was like, man, you know what? So the fact that you even attempted
Yeah.
to switch over was a blessing to me, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, Ian, like, I'm going to make $1 million anyway. I'm good. I had the #1 and #2 song on the top 100 Billboard charts with 2 supergroups, Destiny's Child and TLC.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to get that money's made. I made that money anyway.
Yeah.
He said, I tell you what, you get me the new Sony PlayStation and I will send in my resignation papers and join ASCAP. And true to his word, me and my boss, Jeannie Williams, got online. We went and got that. That's the new one, the PlayStation, first generation.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And we bought him that PlayStation, and he turned in his resignation papers and joined ASCAP. He told me, he was like, you have always been there. You didn't care about my affiliation.
Yeah.
You've always, and if I needed anything from you, I could pick up the phone and call you.
Yeah.
He said, I've had back-to-back #1s on Billboard, and I cannot get in touch with my BMI rep.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
it
that's
wasn't
bullshit.
until he sent in his resignation that they were like, yo, hold
What
on.
you need.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. What you need, what's going on? You
Yeah.
can't leave.
Exactly.
You know, and he was like, you know, and this is no disrespect to any of the PROs. I'm just telling you my story.
Yeah.
And you know, and the fact that, you know, this was a loyal brother that was like, yo, man, you stood by me, now I'm gonna stand by you.
Yeah.
And that was major to me, you know, in the ASCAP game. So
Yeah.